The Bachelor King has found long-lasting love with Camilla. But could any of Charles's former flames hold a candle to the Queen Consort? While many would assume that Camilla, Queen Consort, is King Charles III's soulmate, Davina Sheffield gave the king a run for his money. Charles was 28 years old at the time of their meeting, and although Sheffield was a relatively private woman, she was also said to be, quote, the soulmate he was searching for. According to royal expert Penny Junner's book, The Firm, The Troubled Life of the House of Windsor.
Charles knew that he had to find somebody who would be acceptable to the British public. Couldn't just pick somebody up off the street.
There was a snag, however. When the then Prince Charles and Davina first met, she was in a relationship with another man, a powerboat racer named James Beard. But according to Junner's book, Charles was so persistent that she eventually succumbed, and the boyfriend soon fell by the wayside. Things seemed to be moving swimmingly for Davina Sheffield and Prince Charles during their relationship until it all came to a grinding halt. While the two were, as Junner writes, very much in love and a proposal was on the horizon, Davina's ex, Beard, started getting hunted by the media. They hounded him as to the status of his past relationship with Davina and what she was like as a person. During the media flurry, it was revealed that Davina and James Beard had, quote, lived in sin. And that was the last nail in the coffin, as Marie Claire magazine describes it. According to royal tradition, a bride for any future monarch needed to be, quote, intact, referring to exactly what you think. As Junner concludes it killed the relationship stone dead. She further revealed that Charles was extremely upset over the falling out. However, this certainly wouldn't be the first time that royal tradition would get in the way of Charles's love life. As noted by biography, future Queen Consort Camilla was once viewed in the same perspective. She was even dubbed as being, quote, experienced by the royal family because she had a well-known relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles, had dated around, and was not considered pure. She was not seen as a suitable fit for the king. Before the topic of his singlehood became a major talking point in the press, Charles was linked to Caroline Longman, whose family had been well connected to the royals for quite some time.
They say it's a formality for Wilson.
Ugh, not if I've got anything to do with it.
Although they were also a relatively private couple, when Charles and Caroline began dating in the 1970s, they were said to enjoy attending polo matches together and were seen driving around in the then prince's Aston Martin. The relationship ultimately didn't work out, but from what we can tell, the two families continued to enjoy a long friendship together. When Prince Charles was single once again, another woman caught his attention, Amanda Knatchbull, who happened to be his cousin. In his book, Battle of Brothers, Robert Lacey explained that the former Prince of Wales was very fond of his cousin. In fact, their bond was so strong that Charles's great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, who was said to be a close confidant of the then prince, was supportive of a proposal, with Lacey writing, over the years, the two cousins did grow close, developing a mutual respect and friendship that has lasted to the present day. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, it's weird that Charles and his cousin were dating, but this wasn't out of the ordinary for royals. In fact, as noted by Reader's Digest, it was quite common for royals to marry one another during the European dynastic era, as marriage was more of a political union than a romantic one. Additionally, the late Queen Elizabeth II and her husband, Prince Philip, were distant cousins. They both shared a lineage with Queen Victoria. When we discuss the royal family as a whole, the word duty is thrown in there a lot. Queen Elizabeth II is perhaps the greatest example of fulfilling her royal duty. Not only was she the longest-serving monarch in British history, but she often made personal choices with a sense of royal commitment at the forefront. Simply put, the crown was always first. This is an attitude among royal family members that is common knowledge, and it was this expectation that Amanda Knatchbull reportedly did not want to live up to. In his book, Battle of Brothers, Robert Lacey discovered that the then Prince Charles proposed to Amanda in 1979, and Amanda, who was described as an independent thinker, gave him an unequivocal no. Lacey described Amanda's take on the whole situation in his book, writing, The surrender of self to a system, as Amanda explained, was so absolute when joining the royal family. To her, it involved a loss of independence far greater than matrimony usually invites. He explains that Amanda's denial of Charles's hand in marriage forced the then heir to the throne to reconsider his priorities. Lacey's words were bolstered by Jonathan Dimbleby, who, according to Express, noted that turning him down only further bolstered Charles's own belief that to marry into the House of Windsor was a sacrifice that no one should be expected to make.
Everyone, this system, is a lost, lonely, irrelevant outsider.
Back in the day, King Charles III was named the world's most eligible bachelor, and fans waited anxiously to see who he'd tie the knot with. Sabrina Guinness, yes, of that Guinness company, was one such contender, as noted by the Daily Mail. She and Charles bonded over a variety of hobbies. In addition to sharing a love of polo, he and Sabrina connected over fly fishing and theater. Things got so intense between the two of them that Charles's aunt, Princess Margaret, was said to have called their relationship serious. And royals don't throw around that word casually. As the Daily Mail reported, however, there was some chaos along the way. For instance, while visiting Balmoral, she went to sit down on a specific chair. The late monarch reportedly jabbed at her, telling her to get up, as it was, quote, Queen Mary's chair. If we know anything about the royals, it's that first impressions and etiquette matter. By the time things were getting even more established, Sabrina told the press that while she enjoyed being with Charles, he's not ready for marriage yet. That comment may have been the lethal blow to the relationship because after less than a year, Charles called it quits. So what exactly happened between King Charles III and Sabrina Guinness? Well, Charles was said to have dropped her, and it came as little to no surprise to anyone around them. Guinness apparently didn't fit into what the royal family was seeking for Charles's future bride. As the Daily Mail reported, Sabrina wasn't tidy. Plus, she had a well-documented dating history. While that's fine for literally anybody and everybody, it did not fly with Queen Elizabeth II. As Vanity Fair reported, the mentality surrounding Charles's future spouse's virginity was a cult way of thinking. Of her suitors, the Daily Mail noted that Sabrina was seen with the likes of Mick Jagger, Rod Stewart, Jack Nicholson, and politician Jonathan Aitken. Her career as a nursery school teacher had taken her to Los Angeles and back, and she had rubbed shoulders with some of the biggest names in pop culture and entertainment of the 1970s. As such, she was not the, quote, virgin bride the royals were set on, and she was dumped along with the others. A few years before King Charles III attempted to woo his cousin, another lady was at the center of his desire. As noted by Express, Charles and Lady Jane Wellesley, daughter of the Duke of Wellington, were connected in 1973. Not dissimilar to other women who had come and gone from Charles's life, Jane too came from an upper-class family and was gorgeous to boot. While the two did become more acquainted with time, Jane quickly realized that Charles's heart would never warm to her, as another woman was predominantly in his life, Camilla Parker Bowles. Royal biographer Christopher Wilson explained the situation to Express, saying, "Any pretty woman who was around wanted to be seen on the arm of the Prince of Wales, but pretty soon they came to the realization of what it was like to live with a man who was in love with somebody else." As far as Jane was concerned, she was an early example of what that life was like, with Wilson adding, "Everybody looked to her as the new Princess of Wales, but she saw very early on the shadow of Camilla."
Well, the trouble is, you see, that these things, again, as I was saying earlier, are so personal.
In 1974, Charles and Jane broke things off, which Jane blamed on the media frenzy that surrounded her. When she was asked point-blank if Charles was going to pop the question, she simply said, "Do you honestly believe I want to be queen?" Before Anna Wallace came into the picture, King Charles III and Camilla Parker Bowles met in 1971 at a polo match and were instantly taken with each other. While their time came to an end as Charles's naval career took off and Camilla was deemed too experienced to be his bride, the two never stopped their friendship or their affair, some speculate. While writing The Duchess, The Untold Story, Penny Jr. found that when Charles was once again on the dating scene in 1980, with the intention to find a bride this time, he had just split up with a Scottish heiress named Anna Wallace. Her experience was quite the foreshadowing of Charles's future marriage to Princess Diana. So, who was Anna? As noted by Express, she was a woman who turned Charles's marriage proposal down, not just once, but twice. And as it happened, Charles was simply not the man of her desires, and she picked up on clues that he was still seeing Camilla while they were together. After that breakup, the press and his family were pressuring Charles to get married more than ever. At 32, his bachelorhood was running low on time. Before he sparked a relationship with Diana Spencer, Charles was romantically connected to Sarah Spencer, Diana's older sister. As noted by Woman and Home, the two crossed paths in 1977 and dated in their 20s. The seriousness of the connection, however, was lacking. Charles was known at the time as a real player, with some headlines attesting that he had dated 20 women in a decade in his attempt to fall out of love with Camilla Parker Bowles. For her part, Sarah allegedly had gone through thousands of boyfriends by the time her path crossed with the now Kings, so any real connection between them seemed futile at best. The real end to the relationship came when Sarah was asked by reporters if she would marry Charles in the future, to which she said, "I wouldn't marry him if he were the dustman or the King of England." Charles reportedly didn't take the comment particularly well. Despite their differences and failed romance, Charles and Sarah stayed connected and, you guessed it, Sarah introduced the then heir to the throne to Diana, her younger sister. While staying at the Spencer home for a hunting trip, Charles met the then 16-year-old Diana, and they would become engaged 3 years later. Of her little sister and Charles's romance, Sarah told The Guardian, "I introduced them. I'm Cupid." Of course, we can't discuss King Charles III's dating history without talking about Diana Spencer. The People's Princess has a legacy that's worth thousands of words. But when she was engaged to Charles, she was a 19-year-old kid who didn't see it coming.
Well, I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was.
As noted by Marie Claire, Charles and Diana had gone out together a total of 12 times. Yes, 12. Before he asked her to marry him. The Guardian reported at the time that the then prince was amazed that Diana said yes, and even Diana seemed to be completely caught off guard by the proposal. In the documentary, Charles and Di, The Truth Behind Their Wedding, royal editor Ingrid Seward shed some light on the moment Charles popped the question, telling viewers that it was more awkward than intimate. After taking Diana to the nursery, we're a little weirded out by that too, Charles proposed, and Diana burst out laughing. As Seward described it, I think that was probably just her nerves. She didn't think it was the most romantic of proposals, but she had the proposal. Much like the proposal, the couple's relationship was not the fairy tale that many believed it to be.
Her failing marriage was played out in public, shattering yet another of the Windsor's most sacred rules.
Royal biographer Christopher Wilson later said per Yahoo that after Charles proposed, he called his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, and told her, "There, I've done it now. You've asked me to get married to somebody, and I've fixed it." Of all the women the then Prince Charles dated, no one, in his eyes, held a candle to Camilla Parker Bowles. The pair dated in the early 1970s before breaking up, marrying other people, and restarting their affair in 1986. They endured leaked phone calls, faced the people and the press, and finally, in 2005, tied the knot.
Over the years, we think we know what went on in that marriage, and actually we don't.
While the public has certainly taken its time to warm up to Camilla, her dedication to the crown has won her some favor, but it's still difficult for the Queen Consort to compete with Diana Spencer's legacy. Upon Queen Elizabeth II's death and Charles's ascension to the throne, Twitter was on fire about Diana and made it very clear that the crown should have been Diana's. Or that she should have been spared by the royal family altogether. One passionate Twitter user wrote, "The true queen that never was. She faced it so rough, and nobody defended her. She died fighting alone. Her only crime was getting married to a royal." As reported by YouGov, Charles's popularity in the second quarter of 2022 sat at 42%, while Camilla's popularity was ranked at 40%. The pair are well behind Prince William and Princess Catherine, as well as Princess Anne. Will the couple now finally win over the public? Only time will tell.